we're here with Candice from Woolbright. And did you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do in your band?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Candice. I play I play guitar and I sing in a band called Woolbright. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I do.
Right on. So when did you start playing music?
I started playing music. I was 9 when I started playing guitar, and on and off with that for throughout like childhood, I guess. And then I started playing music in a band, like a project, my first project, I think when I was 17 or 18. And then Woolbright and a hardcore band before Woolbright for like 2 seconds in 2015. So yeah.
And have you always been like a singer? Have you always like ever since you were smaller, were you like, did you sing all the time, or was that like?
You know, I didn't find this out until when quarantine was happening. I had to live with my mom for 7 months, and she has adopted my niece, and my niece is she likes to sing and hum, and she's kind of like a happy kid, you know? And I remember my mom's like, oh, she's such a happy kid. She reminds me of you when you were a kid. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you used to sing all the time when you were a kid. And my mom's never told me this before, because I didn't start singing until I was like 17, 18. So I didn't actually start singing in a band or thinking that I could until then. But I did not know that information. So I guess I had been singing when I was a kid, just humming and stuff like that. But I didn't know that till this past quarantine when I was living with my mom again. So there it is. Yeah.
Like nobody brought it up to you like at the time. They were just like, oh, that's what she's humming.
Nobody told me shit in part of my language, but
like, don't tell her.
yeah. It's so funny because like, I don't know, she seemed kind of taken back when I started singing and stuff as an adult. And it wasn't until I don't know, it was a weird thing. Like my family I was a competitive swimmer growing up. I did it for like 8-9 years. So my mom always wanted me to just compete. She wanted me to train for the Olympics and things like that. So that's where she wanted me to be. So when I started doing like creative musical stuff, she was like, what, I don't know what you think you're doing type of stuff. So
don't tell her she can swim.
Huh?
She needs to swim. We can't tell her that she can sing. Like
yeah, that's pretty much kind of how it went down. Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. So who would you say are like your main influences like now as an adult, like musically?
Musically? Oh man. I really do have a whole bunch of influences. This
no
is
pressure.
funny. I had just answered this question, but for a full band for another interview. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what would you guys think full band? Okay, I think for me, one of my biggest influences right now, and it has been for a while, Frank Ocean, SZA, Solange, Hayley Williams, Fiona Apple, Love No Doubt. I love Gwen Stefani. Trying to think. Napalm from A Hiatus Coyote. She's an absolute beast. I don't know if y'all know that band, but they're so freaking good. Pierre from Motion City Soundtrack and Motion City Soundtrack in general. Ben Gibbard from Death Cab for Cutie. I'm sure there are so many more, and those are like my top. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
It's like no pressure, but like I feel like that's people are like, what are your favorite bands? Like go.
I'm just like, shit.
Like hold on, I have a list here. Hold on. Like in your pocket. But when I was telling Raven when I had first heard Busybody Lazybones, I was like, this totally reminds me of All We Know Is Falling, Hayley Williams, like era. It was like so weird. I was just like chilling. I was like, okay, I'll listen to this band because it was like recommended on Spotify. Woolbright was, and I was like, okay. And I was like, wait, hold on, who am I listening to? Like immediately I was thinking back to like Conspiracy and like Franklin and like those like more slow paced but still heavier, like early Paramore songs. And I was like, okay, I dig
Yeah.
this.
we get that comparison a lot, but when they say that, they're like, but like all we know is Falling era.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it was a huge influence for me when I was a kid. Like, yeah. So
Like, I feel that.
thank you. Yeah.
I'm a huge Paramore fan, so I will like, you know, any kind of comparison.
Who isn't? I don't know. Who isn't?
I surprisingly, I've met a few people that are like, I don't know about them, and I'm like, you need to re-listen to like
I don't know if this friendship is gonna work out then.
I don't know if this is gonna work out. But like also like talking about more Paramore, like how After Laughter was happy like melodies, but the lyrics were like very heavy, like kind of in that way too, but definitely like sonically more All We Know Is Falling.
Yeah. Heard.
Listening.
Yeah.
That's great.
No, thank you. Yeah.
So then as like a child, who were your influences?
Oh my God. Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, Lauryn Hill, Billy Talent. I don't know if y'all know Billy Talent. Yeah. I guess when I was a kid, I guess like Paramore, Evanescence, Linkin Park. I loved Motion City and Death Cab when I was younger too. Trying to think. There's this artist, Amos Lee. I don't know if y'all know that artist. They wrote that song "Sweet Pea, Apple of My Eye." Don't know when. Yeah, that's his song. You're like, what? That song's like a really popular one of his, and he really liked it. Oh, Fall Out Boy for sure. Fall Out Boy. I feel like there's so many more. I love listening to Jake growing up too. Yeah, Outkast. There's so many that I was just like, this music's awesome, and
so
like, just
influenced. I love that.
It's a very wide range of music.
Yes, yeah, just whatever sounds and feels good, I'm here for it. You know, like just bring it on. Those are my top ones that I can think of right now.
And this is like adolescence, teen, like kind of years.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, I love how I just love how eclectic that is, because I feel like like I don't know, I was trying to like how to put this in words, but growing up, I was like, I love punk rock, and like people are so focused on like, oh, you're a woman, so you like have to like hyper like listen to so much punk rock and say like that's all I listen to like be like show that you really are like in the scene. It's like very
like you can only listen to that. You can't listen to anything else.
And you're like,
are you a rocker or a rapper? Yeah.
like exactly.
It's like, oh, you listen to hip hop too? I'm sorry, you can't be a punk.
You're like, yeah, you're not. Because you're already like under a microscope, kind of, and they're like, oh, you're wearing that shirt. Name 5 songs. Like,
I mean, we get that anyways. You know, let's be real here.
What was that?
We get that anyways as women. If we're wearing a band shirt, we automatically get the okay. We'll name like all their albums. You know, what did they do before they were this band? You know, just everything.
Chronological order. Name all of their albums. What's the second track? I had an ex-boyfriend who was like that. Oh, you went to that show. Name the second track off of this record. I was like, you gotta go.
Yo, bye. Yeah. That's so ugly. That is so ugly. I forgot that was like a thing for us, like growing up. Like that really was a thing. I feel like it still is, but hopefully we're just not. We're probably. I'm surrounded by people who don't speak to me that way, and I'm assuming for you too as well. But like, it's so ugly to be like, name 5. Oh, you know, you like this band? Like, how much do you actually like this band? Like, I don't know.
I think about it like more so like growing up, you know, those like teen years or like, I mean, well, I'm 28, but like the 20, 21, you know, 22 era, like where everyone is very like focused on like image and like knowing, you know, just everything, where it's like, okay, you're wearing that shirt, name all the members, name all their albums, name all the songs, you know, what their life story basically. Whereas now,
most
like,
of the time I can do that, but I was like, I don't want to right now because I don't owe you that.
Yeah. Whereas now we're a little bit older, we know our friends who aren't like that, you know, like we found our circle of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that rocks.
It's awesome. And like I work in I'm an essential worker. I work in a grocery, and on our name tags it has like I love whatever, and mine says I love punk rock. So like there's always these like older men who are like, oh, you love punk rock, like do you like have you heard of a Black Flag or something? And I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, which Black Flag? Like, what are we talking about? Like, I was like, Flag's better than Black Flag right now anyway. Like, and then it was just this whole thing. Oh, name bands then. Okay, well, I don't really want to, so, but that whole thing. But yeah, luckily, like, we're in a place where people aren't like that with us. They're just like, oh, like, you enjoy the music too, and it's like, doesn't make any difference that you're a woman and, you know, in the scene, which is nice. It's a lot less stressful.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I've had that before. When we first, the first time I ever went to Fest, and I was doing merch for my friend's band. I think it was Fest 14. And I was not really someone who ever went to Fest before that. I never really heard of it before. And I remember there was this person that also wanted to go to Fest that I was friends with at the time. And I remember him coming over my house. He's friends with my partner. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to Fest this year. And he's like, oh, really? Name 10 bands that are playing. Like, why are you? I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, it's so late. This was years ago. But just to add to stories to that, it's like, why does it matter? And it's a festival. Yeah. You're going to see new bands and listen to music and like support your friends' bands and stuff like that. Like, speaking of just flags, red flag. You started talking red flags.
Red flags. People watch out for these red flags.
We'll have to do like a punk rock watch out for these red flags list. Like, yes. If they question the shirt you're wearing.
Yeah. You know, or it's like you talk to them about music and then they're like, oh, you really do know like music.
Yeah, they're like shocked. You actually do this.
Thank you.
You're like, yes, thank you. I actually like listen to a lot of music outside of like what, yes, you know.
Sorry. Yeah.
We can spend like the whole afternoon talking about stuff like that because we all have those experiences for sure.
For sure, absolutely,
definitely good. So how did the name Woolbright like come about?
Honestly, it was so Woolbright. I used to write songs just solo, like by myself, just songs I wrote. And Gabe, Josue, and John, the other members in Woolbright, also like my best friends and my bub as well. In this band, they were in other bands at the time, and we all loved each other's bands. And I was in a different project at the time, and they loved that project too. And I still had my own songs that I would write, and we would always be like, "Oh, we got to start a band together. Got to start a band together." And then when my older project was no longer a thing, and strangely enough, everyone else's projects started to not be a thing too. We were like, let's start a band. And I initially had it under the name Candelia, which John actually thought of that name when I started playing like solo shows and stuff like that, just for fun. And then we're like, okay, so let's do this as a band. I don't really want it named after me kind of ish, because Candice Candelia, I'm like, I don't want to do that. It's weird. For me, it was not like my thing. And I just had a list of names, and that was the one we liked the most. So
do you remember the other names on the list?
I do. There was one that I really, really liked. There were two that it was a whole, I probably still have that list. I'm literally going to go into my list right now. On my notes, because I got notes from like way too long ago. Two of them that I really liked was Honey Garden and Honey Hands, and I really liked those. And
did she say Honey Ham?
Yeah, Honey Hands.
Honey Hands, not Honey Baked Ham.
Honey Baked Ham. That's great.
Honey
Think of the merch for that.
Yes.
This like very eclectic honey baked ham with text like dripping honey off the pillow.
Hell yeah. There would be so much honey merch all day. But those were the only two I could really remember.
It's like Winnie the Pooh. honey.
Oh, that would have been really
Cute.
for honey garden. Yeah, having like a little like garden with him just sitting with a little honey pot. Oh,
Yeah, that would be super cute.
yeah.
But like Woolbright just like kind of came to you, or it just like popped in your head one day, or
I truly at this point don't really remember how. I know Woolbright is like a road in South Florida. It's like on I think West Palm. It's in West Palm somewhere. We get tagged and stuff when people are traveling. They're like, "Oh, I lived on this road," or like, "Oh, did you get your name from this?" And it's maybe subconsciously that's where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just one of the names.
I mean, yeah, if you Google like the name, like nothing else really comes up. So I guess that, definitely works instead of like having like 5 bands with the same name. And you're like, no, one's from Florida. Like, trying to like.
Yep. It is a last name. I know it's a last name. I'll see sometimes in the tag, like I think there's a construction company down here called Woolbright. And I believe there's in sports ball, there's someone with the last name Woolbright. So I'll see that around sometimes too. So yeah.
Very cool.
I always love to know like how bands get their names. And I was like, did it just like, I don't know. I always think of like Destiny's Child, how they like, did they like open like a book or the Bible and it was like Destiny?
I feel like names are like, it's like one of the hardest things sometimes, like for
the hardest part. Like you have everything else and you're like, what do we name this? Like, how do we encompass this whole like project that we have?
Yeah, I can't think about it too much because I'm someone who definitely will spend a lot of time being like putting a lot of weight onto that. So the fact that Woolbright is one of those names where I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm just kind of happy that way because I don't want to overthink it and be like, this is perfect for this reason. And then be like, wait, and then change my mind because I am kind of that way. I'm like, no, wait. So
like existential, like, wait, what is this? What is this name?
Yeah.
Like I already put it on a t-shirt. It's done. Like we can't
do anything. We can't
change it now.
It is what it is.
Is what it is.
Yeah. So I saw this TikTok that you had made, and it was like, say you're an Office fan without saying you're an Office fan, and then you're pointing to your album. So Busybody Lazybones, Office reference. So did that like just, you were like, how did that happen?
Okay, so we all love The Office. I love The Office. John is obsessed with The Office. He has watched it, I kid you not, maybe like 30 times in its entirety. Like, you know how Office fans are. Once they, I
am one of those fans.
Yeah, you know, like it's a comfort. You have it on, even if you just have it on, it just brings comfort, and it's just a good
just
show.
put it in the background, like as you're doing stuff, you know.
Yeah. Every once in a while, you're like captivated by it. You're like, "What's going on?" Like, "Oh, I love this part."
Still find something in it that makes you laugh that you didn't recognize before or notice.
Yes. The looks too. When you look at the looks from like other people in the shots, you're like, "Oh my god, look, they broke character or whatever." It's super fun to like catch those things.
My favorite scene or like favorite moment that like I caught like after the fact was when they were gonna have the funeral for the bird, when it crashed into the wall, and like Michael finds out that like they didn't do any, like it's still outside, and he goes to run out of the conference room and runs into the camera really quick before like taking off to the side, and you see the camera just like shake towards the ground. It's like he wasn't supposed to hit it, but he hit it, and the camera like kind of stumbled really quick.
That's work. It's called improv.
Dude, he's so stupid. He's so dumb. I love it. Like, a perfect show. Truly a perfect show. People will hate on it and be like, oh, Steve Carell, they were so focused on Steve Carell and all this stuff. It's like, I feel like everyone, like, even when Steve Carell left, like, it was still good. And the characters, it's just, everyone made it. They don't have a single episode without Dwight. They couldn't do the show without Dwight. He's in every single freaking episode. Just saying. So people,
like every single character on that show is like so perfect and like unique, like totally describes, you know, like everyday people, but they all have like their little quirks and stuff. Like it's just, I love it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I'm like thinking about, I now want to start watching it again. That Mad Men. I watch them all the time. Anyway, I'm sorry. I was supposed to answer a question, right? I'm like, why are we talking about The Office? Okay, Office.
Just asking about the album name.
Yes. I obviously like feel the vibe. Like we could talk about The Office forever. So I'm gonna go ahead and just
episode of just The Office. I don't know.
Oh, yes. Never mind. I was about to ask another question about that episode. I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. You're gonna just go. Crap. Okay, Busybody Lazybones. So, a more of a serious flip. Yeah, Busybody Lazybones. I guess I was watching when I was trying to think of a name for the album. That was another one that I had a couple of other names for it. Well, one other name for it that I was thinking about, and nothing ever stuck when we were trying to compile it all together as one like name, because that to me is a big deal. Like, what's the album name? And just the themes of the songs. I wrote a lot of those songs in like a depression, so in a really, really, really dark space in my life. And I'm someone who's like really passionate about music, really passionate about writing, really passionate about sharing it and sharing my experience, no matter how hard it is to sing about or talk about. And so sometimes I have this huge burst of like emotion and a huge burst of motivation, and I'm like, right, and feeling great. And then all of a sudden I'm feeling depressed and I don't want to move and I don't want to leave my bed, and I'm like thinking all these crazy stuff. And I remember, I guess I had maybe been watching The Office near the end there, because it's Erin in The Office where she goes talking about the pens in The Office when Jenna Fisher is like, hey, just like there's a pen shipment coming in, so when it comes in, just can you put it in that, like just take care of it. And she's like thinking about it all day. She's like, I don't want to be a busybody, but I don't want to be a lazybones. Busybody, lazybones, busybody, lazybones. And I'm like, oh my freaking God, like that is a perfect name for this album, considering the themes of the songs and everything. So yeah, that's where it came from. It's just that somewhere. Yeah.
I love how these things just like come to people.
They just happen.
Yeah.
Happen. Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like, I do really like The Office, but I definitely have a sweet spot for Parks and Rec. I think that's like my comfort show.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it's the same. It's like the same kind of.
It's the same kind of comedy. I do think The Office is better, though, I will say.
I knew this was going to come up. I almost brought it up, and then I did it for this very reason.
I was like, oh, we haven't. I was like, I'm a Parks and Rec.
I could never get into Parks and Rec like I could The Office. Like, I enjoy it. I enjoy Parks and Rec, but I prefer The Office, I will say.
I will say, whenever somebody tries to like do a trick, I'll be like, hardcore parkour.
No, I like talking about like Office episodes like that probably wouldn't air today, or like would get flack, like the Diversity Day episode, like that probably wouldn't be able to get like there's some episodes watching it now, you're like, that wouldn't have been able to happen today, you know?
For sure. One thing I really like about The Office is like they make sure to shame the people staying and doing the dumb stuff.
Yes.
They shame those people, like, nope, that's bad. You're an idiot. Like, that's what I like about The Office, and they doing that. Parks and Rec is also a great show. It's the same thing, Star Trek, Star Wars. Why one against the other? Why not both? Just
why not both? See?
You might
I don't watch.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just prefer
Sour Patch Kids. Why not both?
I mean, I watch it. I watch both. I just think I prefer one over the other.
Yeah.
Why not both? Exactly.
But I get also liking one more than the other, and you do. Like I know that Parks and Rec and The Office one is compared all the time, and I get it. they're just different. I like Parks and Rec. I feel like I probably like The Office more, like Raven, but I don't know. Parks and Rec's also freaking hilarious. And
for sure. There's moments that, oh my gosh, that episode, I thought of that, and it was going around too at like the start of the pandemic where they had the the like virus, when it was like a mock like thing where they had the virus, and who was it that like got infected and he didn't know he was infected, and he's like, oh, I feel great, blah blah, this stuff, and it was like everyone like kind of trickled after him, and people were sharing that as like a meme at the start of the pandemic because that it, like perfectly described like what was happening. Like
that's a long time ago, Raven. The start of the pandemic.
I mean, we're coming up to a year, so
we're on Bernie memes now.
Are you sure we're not in March still? It's March, what, like 200 and something?
We're not on the.
I'm like gonna cry right now. I'm like, crap, it's been almost a freaking year. This time last year, we were all like oblivious to the freaking fire that was coming towards us.
Isn't that wild? Like, looking back on like the stuff that happened, like we've completely forgot some of the things because it's been such a shit show that we can't keep track of it all.
Oh yeah.
Like we were just talking, because we're in California, we're in Southern California.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Well,
that's where we're at.
We were talking because I don't know if you've heard about it or read about it. So LA County has specific air regulations, air quality regulations, and they are now going to roll back some of those regulations to help the crematoriums with the number of bodies they have. So we will soon be breathing the air of these crematoriums.
Wow.
That's how bad it's gotten here.
I'm like, I didn't read that, but you're she's like 2 hours south from me.
We had a 2 a.m. back and forth, one of our other friends, because he was talking about it, because he also lives in LA County, so it's getting so bad here that like they can't keep up with the demand of, you know, the bodies.
So we're either breathing the air of like fires or now cremated people.
Yes, that's great. It's crazy. Like it's just
cool. Love California.
I've never even been to California. I've never been to the West Coast at all. I want to, but obviously not right now in pandemic.
I was gonna say, wait till everything comes back to normal, or as normal as we can make it.
Yeah, Woolbright needs to come here when everything's normal. I don't know what normal is, but yes.
Okay, what is normal these days?
We'll go to the show if it's in Southern California.
For sure, yeah.
The second half of the state we'll go. We'll travel. We'll go see you.
Florida is not as long as California, but I feel you on the traveling wherever you got to in way too far in the state to catch a show. Been there.
I mean, like, yeah, because we've gone to like San Francisco and Oakland, and that's like what 10 hours away driving, like ridiculous. Like,
gotta get to the gig.
Very long state.
We have to fly within our state to get places.
Just easier. Yeah, definitely. Just fly. So is your next album going to be Office themed too?
No, it's going to be Parks and Rec now because she did the Office.
Yeah. No, I really don't know. It might be. You never know what happens because Busybody came just out of nowhere. So maybe we could keep it going that way. But yeah, no, we have music that we're writing. We have music that's ready that we're planning right now. So that's exciting. But yeah, don't know yet if it's going to be an Office reference yet. So that's as much, I guess, as I'll say.
Completely random on TV, and then it just comes to you, and you're like, okay, that's it.
There it is. Yeah.
So I was gonna talk about like your songs. They're very like theatrical in a way. Like I think like the elongated theatrical, like layered harmonies on top of yourself, like echoes. It's just very like It's a lot, but it's so cool. Like it's very different because everyone's so simplistic. I feel like other bands, and then you listen to
like a lot of different layers happening like within.
Yeah. So like, was that always the sound that you wanted to go for, or like, did you just happen accidentally, or?
The way we write as a band and as individuals is we just want to have fun with our friends, and we want to write music that we're proud of and play music that we're proud of and just like feels good to us. I love that you said it sounds theatrical. I'm sure someone has told me that before, but I just another huge influence of mine is Say Anything. Say Anything is extremely theatrical. And I was a theater kid in high school too. So it makes sense that it would be kind of like dramatic in a way, but I just love layering harmonies. I don't know if I necessarily had the vision of putting a bunch of stuff. I just love to do it. I'm like, when it comes to a live show is super different from the finished product. And I'm like, do whatever you want to do. And you can always take away or put more in, but just at the very least, do all your ideas, put them in. And if everyone likes the way it sounds, that's what we're going to go with. And if we don't like certain things, we'll take those things out. But I just love saying harmonies. It is like the thing that my serotonin levels boost in like the maximum capacity when I start layering harmonies. So that's probably just the reason why. It just feels good. The guys love it. I'm like, all right, us four, we love it. We're going to keep it. So yeah.
It definitely stands out. Yeah. No, I mean, that was,
okay.
Whatever answer you give is a great answer. But yeah, it stands out. I mean, you don't hear that very often. I mean, I was listening to Pool Kids, and I feel like they're like somewhat similar in like the arrangement, but like but yeah, definitely like the harmonies stand out, and like right at these like gut punch lyrical points, and then there's like a harmony, and then it's like it's just, I don't know, it's beautiful. Like I don't know how else to
Thank
really
you.
it. So I'm like, damn, she's trying to make me feel things right now. Like, I don't know if I'm like, I'm trying to do other stuff.
If you're crying while listening to Busybody, you're doing it right. Yeah.
I think that does go back to you mentioned, you know, that your songs are very personal and you talk about, you know, experiences that you've gone through. And I think musically that fits in with what you're talking about and the subject matter and everything, having this very elaborate, you know, song with all these different, you know, effects and, you know, just whatever it is, like that does fit with the theme of these songs and the messages and everything, you know what I mean? And I feel like it's another way for people to connect to what you're saying in a sense.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's kind of like what I was saying earlier, like I just want to, I like have to write. Like this quarantine, I'm sure for a lot of artists in general, whatever medium you do, like it was like debilitating at one point. It totally just, I felt no inspiration to do anything musically or write songs. And then living at my mom's, that's really what brought it up. And it was like a whole bunch of stuff. And a lot of the stuff off of that album is a product of like childhood trauma and broken up friendships and a bunch of trauma. And it's something that I need to do. Like music is such a release for me. And I remember I was started writing a little bit more, like a few months ago. I started to finally write and play more and like just do covers and things. And I was just crying. I just kept crying and crying and crying and crying while playing and practicing. I was just crying. And I'm like, yep, this is about it. Pretty accurate. Something that like, even if Woolbright never blows up and like, if I can't like live off of Woolbright, I will always be writing music because it's something I need to do. And if I can share any of that bit and other people can relate and feel better or just feel not alone, I'm going to keep writing. Like, yeah. So
I think a lot of people, and I think it would be pretty safe to say that all, you know, artists and bands are struggling right now. And, you know, when this first started, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, is this a forever thing? Is this temporary? Like, you know, it is a source of income, but it's also a release for people, you know, and it is a way for people to address things they're going through and, you know, just get out emotions and feelings and all this stuff. And I mean, even us as fans going to shows, like, it is a way for us to just disconnect from whatever we have going on in our lives, you know, and see friends and, you know, talk about what's going on and stuff. And I mean, I also work in
crying in our bathrooms.
But like, I also work like on the
crying in the bathroom, man.
Just crying, yeah. But like,
crying, you know, symbiotic harmony, just like crying.
Yeah, but like, it was hard at first, you know. We didn't know what was going on, and like, I mean, I work in production.
Am I gonna die? Like
my whole work just like shut down in the matter of days, you know. I think it was like 3 days where like, everyone's laid off, we're shutting down, we don't know what's going on, we don't know when this is gonna end, you know, whatever, but here's the situation. And it was just very chaotic, you know, in this world. Festivals shutting down, you know, bands not knowing where they stand anymore, you know, tours that are supposed to happen that they don't know if they can because no one knows what's like what the magnitude is, you know, at this point.
Yeah.
It was very chaotic, and I think a lot of people did have that dark period, you know, at the beginning, because no one knew how to adjust and how to live like this, you know.
Yeah.
We can't go out and see friends, we can't go out to shows, we can't do things that we normally do anymore for fun and as a release, because we could potentially get sick, we could potentially die, we could potentially spread it to someone else who may die, you know. Like, it's just all very chaotic. And
yeah, it's a lot of responsibility too, like, and nobody in this lifetime has ever dealt with anything like this. We're going through a huge historical event. We're going through many historical events, and it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I can imagine like everything just getting shut down. You're like, wait, what's going on? Am I gonna be able to live where I live? Am I gonna be able to eat? Am I gonna be able to do any of these things? And I hear you. It's been wild.
Yeah. I think one thing though that like we do appreciate, you know, as fans, is seeing how creative, you know, bands and artists and everyone has gotten through this, and how they've managed to find ways to, you know, play their music still, or, you know, make money, or, you know, whatever it is with like the live streams, the Patreons, the whatever, you know, new merch. I know a lot of people are writing the new music because they have the time, and it is something, you know, that does bring peace to them, you know. But
yeah,
it is still kind of fun for us to see, you know, all these different things still managing to happen, even though we can't physically be at shows or see them in person.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, but it's awesome. I feel like people are starting to get a feel for what they can do right now. And like the initial shock of everything back in March, April, May, even like summer, people are starting to like, okay, maybe I can start to write again, at least inspiration. Like you can go to a park now and walk like at an appropriate distance, obviously, but at least in South Florida you can, which for me, that was like the most debilitating thing for me. Cause I go on nature trails and walks like all the time. So when they shut that down, I'm like, I'm going to lose my shit. Like this is something that like I need in my life. I need that grounding. I need that nature around me. I remember driving by the park I always go to, and they hadn't announced that they had opened everything yet, or they announced it that day. I remember driving, I saw the gate open and I started crying because I'm like, I'm going to go in there right now. There's like no one there, and it was open, and it's crazy, or it's just wild how we don't realize how much we need certain things until you're forced in isolation, and then you're like, wow, this is wild. Like, I can't believe this is happening. But now I'm glad to see that people are able to kind of do some little more stuff and live a little bit more, quote unquote, like what is a new normal. Yeah. And I feel like that's helping people, like they're seeing what path they should go, what they should do now, because everything stopped. And now it's like, okay, well now, you know, you can do Patreon, you can do merch, you can still write songs, record from home because it's so accessible to record stuff now too. Put out songs, albums, whatever.
Yeah. In
the meantime. So.
Yeah.
I saw a virtual tour too. I saw someone doing I thought that was really cool. They were linking up with other bands or other like bars and venues in like their area. And I guess they would just sign in to their Facebook accounts and play like a set on their bar like account. So they did like a virtual tour, and I thought that was so cool.
That's really cool. Yeah. Really innovative too. Like I would never think to do that at all.
Yeah.
Creative.
Wow.
Yeah. I know we did. I saw someone do kind of like it was essentially like a virtual tour. Like they had dates scheduled, but it was like they would have different cities, you know, on their tour, but then for that city, they would host streams from bands who lived like in that area. So like if it was like Chicago, they would have like all these like Chicago-based bands play that night. If it was LA, it'd be like LA bands play that night, you know. So it was like all these different cities and like the bands from those areas that would play, which I thought was really cool.
That is really cool. That rocks. That's super, super cool. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's something. Like I feel like we always anticipated like going to our next show. Like that was like our identity almost. Like, oh, we're going to a show. Like,
yeah.
And then we're like, okay, well, who are we?
Like, now it's turned to like, okay, what streams are happening this week?
Yeah. A live stream, who's dropped a new album, like we need to, you know, support and do that. But yeah, you know, anything creative, we're here for it. You know, we're here to support bands that we like. So
for sure.
But yeah, like it's definitely cool seeing how creative bands can be right now and like how they can kind of like stretch like what they can do. So,
absolutely. And like also just everything being virtual right now has definitely leveled the playing field as well. I guess, I mean, just leveled it out for everyone to have like an opportunity to show their stuff, and people be like, oh, this band, I like, that's, you always want to see this band, and you see like their live stream, you see they're playing live here, and people are hungry for it. So it really helps, I don't know, in that sense, where like people who typically can't tour a bunch, us being one of those bands where we only tour like twice a year, and then we do like weekenders, because you can just tour Florida and it's a weekender. It's crazy. And shows here and there, one-offs. But this definitely evens it out. And I was starting to do solo tours too. I did my first solo tour last year. And because I was going to start, I'm like, okay, 2 full band tours, and I'll start doing some solo tours, get Woolbright, like just keep it going. And then pandemic hit. So not long after. Wait, no. About a year. No, it was in November of 2019. And then, I guess, yes. So not long after, oh my God, time is not real. Time doesn't exist.
There is no time right now.
It's really not. Like, I swear to God, like, I'm trying to think about a show too that we've gone to, and I'm like, I don't remember when that happened. Like, I don't.
You look at the timestamp on like your Instagram story or like your Facebook memory, and you're like, oh, okay. That
happened.
That happened. Cool. Doesn't feel like. And like I was watching, when I was rewatching like the Symbiotic Harmony video, I was like, damn, I wish I could go to an arcade right now. Like that would be fun. Like all those jerks. Like, you never even think of it. Like at the time, you're like, damn, that's like, you know, something.
I don't think I'll ever touch anything again without sanitizing my hands immediately afterwards. So, like, I love going to those barcade type of things, or we were at like Game Room or something, and we went there to win that dragon. He's on my fridge right now, actually. But anyway,
it's crazy. It's crazy. Like we're all gonna be like that, and all think that way.
You're like thinking back to when you were a kid, and you're like, "Who let me play at Chuck E. Cheese?" Like that's gross.
Like licking the freaking slide.
There was like an Instagram memory I had like not too long ago, from like a Pennywise show, and like we're all on stage, you know, like for Bro Him, and I'm like, I can't imagine ever doing that again. All those people, like,
just like sardines, like. canned into the
I miss
room.
it.
I don't want to touch anyone.
I miss it. I miss being in a sweaty group of people and then not even using your weight and just kind of, you don't use any of your own muscles.
You're like,
And you're held up.
Yep. Like, I don't know, like, it's weird. Like, we've gone so long without experiencing that like thinking about it like doesn't even seem real anymore. Like, I think, well, my last show was March 14th, and
you're a ballsy. You went like, yeah.
I went, so my last show was March 14th at Alex's Bar in Long Beach, and that was the same day that Long Beach had confirmed their first cases of COVID. But I went with my friend because I was like, we're not going to get this for a long time, like, screw it. And we didn't think it was that serious still at that time. You know, so we went.
This isn't serious.
Yeah, we went and they cut the crowd in half, you know, whatever. I brought in hand sanitizer, not as a joke, but just like, oh, you know, just in case, whatever. But looking back now, I'm like, God, I really went to a show like March, you know, like that was not a very smart decision, but.
Yeah, we were supposed to do a weekender right in the middle of March. We had a whole thing planned and we were like, okay, one was dropping, the other was dropping. We're like, oh, I don't know. Like, and they all ended up getting canceled, but it was like slab in the middle, right when all of it hit. Though the weekend before. So we had like a week before, we were like prepared for it, rented out the van, everything. And we're just like, oh, the world's on fire. So that's never mind. So it's wild.
And that's something too that like a lot of people didn't take into account at the time. Like as fans, you know, tours get booked out like months in advance, or, you know, they're set far in advance. And it's not something that bands can just be like, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this instead, you know, like the day before or whatever. It's like, no, people might have to fly to places. They have to get all their crew together. You know, all these different things happen leading up to the tour. And when the world is falling apart and you have a tour scheduled around that time, like if someone cancels because, you know, things are shutting down in their area, or, you know, whatever it is, like, and fans get upset, it's like, no, you have to kind of take into account like all these different things that are happening, but it's not behind the scenes that you're not seeing just from their social media posts saying they can't play this date or this tour, you know?
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. Yes.
Another adjustment. So you did a couple things for Fest. You did namely like the Night Before Christmas, What's This cover, and then the Tiny Tub set, which was, you know, looked comfortable. I don't know.
It was very comfortable. I pushed my hand through the wall.
So how were those experiences? And then what do you like? I love Fest. I think that's my favorite festival like I've ever been to. Like, what do you think it is about Fest that like makes it so special and like unlike other festivals?
The people who run Fest, you feel like you're actually talking to real people that like you can actually communicate with, and they like give a shit. Like they've been doing Thursdays sets for a long time, like since quarantine happened. Like I was part of, I think, the second one, and Tony would be like, all right, I'm ordering from this bar. Remember to still support like our local stuff so that they don't go under. Like takeout's still there, and he'd be eating the food and like shouting at all these different venues in Gainesville. And it's just like a lot of pride for all those like mom and pop shops that are in Gainesville. That makes Gainesville. In my opinion, that's what it's like. The salt of Gainesville is that whole like downtown area with all those like Flacos and like Boca Fiesta and Papa Top, all those types of places and all the bars around there. It feels like a family, like an actual family of people. And it's really cool that they showcase a lot of Florida bands and that they bring in people from literally all around the world. What makes it different is just, it feels like a family of people, and you see so many friends, and so many people are so unbelievably supportive of one another. And also like, there are like fest sets like at houses too, like unofficial stuff that is so fun. The Battle of the Bands got canceled because cops. It was like 2 a.m. and it was daylight savings, so then it went back to like 1. So bars were supposed to close at 2, but technically were still allowed to play. And I remember someone's like, all right, we're going to this house. And there was just an impromptu like solo set, and it was like a house party set that I played out of nowhere with Insignificant Other and my friend Jer from Scottoon. Also in Insignificant Other, Jesse does like rap type of stuff too, and they did a set. It was like we were like losing our minds, like having a freaking house party, dancing, like shaking our asses, like screaming. I have chills right now. I remember like thinking back, like we're all packed in this house. People are like crowd surfing. There's no amplification except for the guitar. You can barely hear the vocals, but people are screaming like right back at you. So much fun. And I feel like you don't get that at other festivals. That's what I mean. Like it's a homie, like friends. I peed in a bathroom with someone from the UK. I had never met them before. And she was just like, yeah, you should be able to like have a time and like have a trip with a friend in the loo, like, you know? And I'm like, yeah, I agree. Like it wasn't weird or anything. I know it's like probably TMI now I'm talking about it, but at the same house party, we had to both go. We were just talking. We were like really connecting as like friends. And we still follow each other and like each other's stuff and everything. But like I met someone from the UK. We had to pee. We both went at the same time. And then we continued on with our day, having a good time in our night till like 5 a.m. So it was a really fun time. I don't know.
I feel like a lot of people have those like fest stories. Like
I don't know. I just can't like the best time of my whole life, I think, was that fest. Like I don't know. I think I was texting you, Raven, from it, and I was like, you need to like, do this. Like the best time. I don't even know how to describe it.
So and so ended. Now I'm running to this place down the street to like
having a conga line at like whatever venue after this person, like this band just finished playing, and we're like, you know, at like High Dive or whatever, and we're having like a conga line, and then we're heading to like the Woolly, and like it's just we're eating like $1 pizza on the street and like throwing up from too many PBRs. Like just
PBR City there, baby. PBR City.
So much PBR, so much pizza. Like it's just amazing. Like I cannot speak highly enough of Fest because it just like it has that family dynamic, and
it was pretty entertaining because like I haven't been, but like she went and I was getting texts from her, and it was pretty entertaining like getting the text because like I can't remember who you had seen. Was it Laura Jean Grace? Like you saw someone and then you're like, crap, I have to go like see so and so. Like I don't know, it was you were gonna see Bad Cop and you weren't sure if you were gonna make it, and then I'm watching them like getting ready to go on stage because they're live streaming, and she's right in front of the crowd, and I'm like, how did you make it there? You just texted me like 3 minutes ago that you were at the other place.
Laura Jean Grace played in the library, the Civic Media Center.
EMC.
Yeah, it was like Lauren from Warriors, and then it was Laura Jean Grace. It was like an amazing like thing to experience. Like I can't even. And then I like ran over, and all of a sudden I'm in the front. Like how did you
like right in front? And I'm like, you were just at the end of it, like show.
Like magic. Fest magic, baby. Fest magic.
I texted her. I'm like, I'm watching you, like on the live stream. You're like right in front, like.
I hope it. I don't know. I don't have much hope for like November, but I mean, I still have my ticket for like later this year, so we'll see what happens. I mean, you guys are supposed to play, right? So that'll be fun if it does happen. I don't know.
That showcase, I'm not gonna say who's on it, but that showcase is wild as hell. So. I'm not gonna say anything other than it's wild as hell. So that's it.
Ooh, I'm ready.
It's gonna be a party in that venue. Whenever that show happens, that showcase happens, it's gonna be a party. So yeah. Yeah. Like cry right now, like, oh God, get ready to cry and dance.
That's mostly what we do.
Yeah.
Cry. All you need.
All we need. Yeah, definitely like a good escape from like reality. feel
For
that.
sure.
But speaking of Jer from Scotch Network, you did the Rose Colored Boy cover, which, you know, I loved a lot. That was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And like, how did that happen? Like, did you like approach him, or like what was like the whole thing? Like, what did they like ask you, or?
Yeah, they asked me. Jer is one of my like closest friends, a really good friend of mine that we've actually been friends since high school. We went to high school together. So yeah, we've always like gone to shows and stuff together and really started becoming close in the last couple of years. They came down for the holidays, and you know, we were all safe and stuff, but like I saw them during the holidays too. Like, yeah, they just hit me up because I also did that Mariah Carey one like a couple years ago, but they had remixed and mastered it for the Christmas album that they put out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's also another song that we're going to be doing. I'm not going to say what, but there's another song that we're going to be doing that they texted me about it a couple days ago. And yeah, they just hit me up. They're like, "You down to do this?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, let's do that." So they had all the they literally hit me up and were like, "Hey, do you want to do Rose Colored Boy?" They asked me about it a long time ago, and I think maybe I actually reached out to them and be like, "Hey, are you still trying to do that cover?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." Or maybe they reached out to me again and was like, "Hey, I'm doing this now," because they're always working. They're always working. And they're like, "Okay, cool. All right, I'll have the instruments done by tomorrow." I'm like, "You are wild as hell. Like, you did all of that, like every single instrument." They're like, "Yeah, I'll have it done and sent to you in like 24 hours, like everything," because they play everything. And then, and then I recorded vocals on it and the video all in one day and sent it to them. They mixed it and then we put it out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember when like they had posted it. It was not that long ago, right? It was like, I don't know. I have no like concept of time right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like they had posted it, and I was like, "This is so like." 'Cause I mean, obviously, huge Paramore fan. So any Paramore cover I'm down for. You know, Rose Colored Boy is a great song. I was like, damn, you know. I was like, Candice brought it.
Oh, super fun. Like I said, I did theater in high school and stuff too. Like I love just acting a fool. And fun fact, near the end, Jer, they like throw it back. And I obviously, if you watch the whole thing, you know, like I throw it back all the time. I think it's like so much fun to just like shake your ass. And we talked about it later. They're like, "Yo," because they recorded their video and I had recorded my video. We hadn't seen each other's videos. And they're like, "Yo, I also threw it back at this part too." So like, it's just funny seeing both parts. Like we were both there. We're like, wow, it's a South Florida in us right there. Like shaking our asses. So anyway, yeah.
Great. They had also mentioned Woolbright on TikTok. They were like, "Oh, these are bands you need to know and albums that are really good." And like they had a whole list, and then Busybody Lazybones was up there, and I was like, "Oh." I was like, "We already emailed Ken."
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, you know, getting some attention for like bands that don't always like get as much attention when like other people bring them up, and you're like, okay, I need to like it's that's something about 2020 that I'm actually thankful for, that I had time to like look up bands that I wouldn't normally have time to like research and discover, and like, oh, if you like this band, you'll like these other bands. So
yeah,
I think a lot of people like went through that too, because like I know for me too personally, like I found a lot of bands that like I probably wouldn't have discovered or like wouldn't have taken the time to listen to. Like sometimes I could be a little closed-minded in a sense with like music, but like I have really enjoyed like discovering all these different bands and like, you know, everything. And I think that also too like goes back to the even playing field of these live streams that are happening during this, you know, where we can catch live streams from bands that we don't know about, or, you know, whatever it is, and discover new music and stuff. So it's been great.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. I hear you though. Like I'm someone who I listen to like kind of like the same albums a lot because it brings me comfort, and I like just having that same thing, and it just keeps me grounded. But I've been listening lately to like a lot of like different stuff and hearing different songs and stuff, and I'm like, ooh, this slaps. So you're right. It's like, why not listen to more stuff? And then once you start getting in that role of listening to new stuff, like, oh, okay, where's the other goodness? Where's that?
Yeah, like now I catch myself listening to that new stuff that like I just recently discovered over like my comfort, bands or albums.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like this whole time has been like getting out of your comfort zone. So it's like, no, just add like some new music in there. Like,
absolutely.
Discovering new hobbies and just everything. It's been great.
Yeah. Definitely a huge growth period, 2020.
Absolutely.
A huge growing pain.
That's certainly an understatement.
Growing pains. Isn't that the Not on Tour record? Isn't that the name of their record? That was from the year prior though, so I was like, oh. But yeah.
foreshadowing, 2020.
Exactly. A lot of foreshadowing. So how do you like go about writing your music? Like, do you start with like the melody and then add lyrics to it, or do you do it like the other way around?
I do all of it. It really depends. God, I had an idea last night, and it always freaking happens when I'm like about to go to sleep. I normally will have like really awesome musical ideas in that like in between where I'm like awake, but I know I'm asleep. I'm about to hit that dreaming point, and I'll always there are times where like right in that in between, I start to have like melodies or song ideas, and I used to just get up and write them. Sometimes it's like word vomit. Like I need to write it down lyrically, whatever it is. Actually, we have a song. It's like a solo. It's like just me and my guitar that I put. Whelmed Records had put out a 7-inch split for me in this project called Absent Father. Haley Butter is also an awesome person, musician. And I Know It Hurts is a product of that, where I wrote those lyrics like I was like sleeping. I was like, oh God, no. And I like woke up and wrote it in my notes app. And I'm like, this needs to come out. And then I ended up writing a song about it. Just the instrumentation later. Really, it's whatever I feel. It's like I was talking about earlier, it's feelings. I feel stuff and then it comes out, whether it's lyrically first. And then sometimes I'll be on the guitar and I'm playing guitar. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And then I'm playing guitar and I have the melody in my head. I'm like, all right, this is cool. And it just kind of mashes up that way. Sometimes if the guitar part's a little bit more intricate for me, I'll need to like record it, write it. And then later I'm like, okay. And then I have my lyrics and my melodies for it. So it kind of just all over the place, just depends on which song it is. Yeah. So it all comes different. I don't have like any method. It's pretty chaotic. So,
so like you don't like have like a set, like you don't set aside time to like be like, I'm gonna write now. It just like comes to you.
I did that for I challenged myself one time in 2018. Actually, a lot of those songs are going to be coming out soon. Where I wrote a song a day for 7 days. And I was like, okay, I haven't written in a while. Let me just do a little challenge for myself just because. Wrote a song a day for 7 days, and each day had to include the day of the week. So that was actually ended up coming up with some like no pressure. If the song was kind of whatever, like no pressure on anything. Like, oh, to me. Huh?
Low key, no pressure.
Low key. Low key. So that's pretty much, sometimes you just got to create and not have these expectations like it has to be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I know like different, I would talk about like Paramore, because I know that Haley has said like, oh, Taylor will send me the melody that he has like written, and then I'll like sing along. She'll be like, oh, I'll sing along to it when I'm driving and just kind of come up with something. And then if I think of like Laura Jane Grace, she'll say like, I'll rearrange the furniture and then build the room around it. So she like writes the lyrics and then does the melody around the lyrics. So it's like always, two of my biggest influences, Haley Williams and Laura Jane Grace.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to like see how, how different people do it. So Yeah,
for me, it's just feelings. Feel a lot and you write it out in whatever capacity, whichever comes first, the chicken or the egg. I don't know. Sometimes the chicken, the egg.
It's authentic that way, you know, instead of like, I need to write like about, you know, this right now. And you're just like, I'm not feeling that. I don't know if I, if I can kind of thing.
Yeah.
Definitely. So you teach yoga. So how, like, so you're a yoga instructor, like how did that come about? Like, were you using it as like a way to relax and then you're like, I want to teach this, or like how did that come about?
I, funny enough, came across yoga through P90X. There was this person, they had it at their house and I did it like one time, like P90X. I was like, okay, this is extreme. And I did the yoga portion of it and I'm like, this is extreme too. But there's something about it that I liked. So then I started looking up yoga. This was like in 2013. And then I started looking up yoga videos, just yoga online. And I liked it a lot. And then I remember being at a show and my friend, a friend of mine, Reggie Williams, he had told me, he was like, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I know he was doing yoga too. And I told him, I'm like, hey, like, I've been getting into yoga. Like, what do you do? And I remember we were like at a venue in Orlando. I think it was called the Cabinet or something. I don't know. I remember there being a train on, I don't know. It was in Orlando and it was a venue. And he was like, oh, you ever follow this person like Kino McGregor, Kino Yoga? And then that's an Ashtanga yogi. And then I followed her on Instagram. I'm like, oh crap. And she does a lot of, Ashtanga is a very like disciplined, like traditional form of yoga. And it's intense and you have different series of it. So I saw that and I thought it was really cool. And then I just started going to LA Fitness. I started doing classes there, like attending yoga classes there finally, after doing like online stuff and just checking it out. And then I think around in 2015, or maybe it was 2013, I went to my first like actual yoga studio because I needed more. And I've actually taught at LA Fitness before. Last year or 2 years ago, I was teaching at LA Fitness, and there are certain things you're not supposed to teach, and certain ways it's supposed to be like an introduction, and it's a whole thing. But anyway, I needed more, so then I started going to a studio. And then I was like, oh, this is freaking amazing. I love this. I love it so much. I used to swim competitively. We never stretched, or at least my team didn't. We ever did that. Like our warm-ups was like swimming and stuff like that. Like you do like a 500 this and whatever, and you're warmed up. And now we start hitting it with your muscles. So I really started to like it. Growing up, music stuff, I always wanted to do music stuff, but growing up, I was like, if there's anything I do aside from music, I want to help people just feel good, like physically, mentally. Like I knew that at a young age. I'm like, I would love to just help in any way, like either teaching swimming. At the time I was like swimming, maybe be a swim coach or whatever, or a swim instructor. And then when I found yoga, I'm like, oh, this calms me down and this feels good. And it's so much more than like Instagram yoga that you see people doing handstands and contortionist stuff, which is so different. That's what attracts people sometimes when they see all these like contortionist moves. Like these people are like trained for circus stuff. People who are like that are either naturally flexible like that, used to dance or in gymnastics, or they literally work in circuses and they do contortionist work. Sorry, I'm like going off on a tangent because I just did my second yoga teacher training online, and it's like, so there's so many worlds within yoga. And I just,
So talk about whatever you want, like go for it.
Okay. I'll go, I'm like all over it. But I loved it. And so I remember I started powerlifting. I know I do a million things. My hands are in a million different pots. I started powerlifting a few years ago with a group of people, and one of my now best friends, Angel. And I remember she has really, really tight legs. And I remember she knew I did yoga, and I would just help her stretch some things out. And she's like, dude, you should really consider getting your certification. I think that was in 2016, 2017. And I'm like, oh, I guess, And then more people were like, yo, you should really consider getting like your certification. You are very patient. You like speak very clearly. You go into detail about stuff like, just why don't you get your certification? I'm like, you know what, maybe I will. So in November 2017, I got my cert, and then I did it to know everything about it. And like, yoga teacher, 200-hour, you're not learning a bunch about anatomy and people's bodies and maybe where they're at mentally. There's so much that goes into it. So I'm like, man, who am I to like speak and like instruct or guide people to how to move their bodies? So it's been like a process, and I'm like, you just got to do it. Just do it. You know, try to speak as best as you can, as inclusively as you can. That's like what I tell myself, and it's just a learning process. But yeah, I just care so much, which is why I didn't teach for like the first 8 months. And then I started subbing at a studio, and then I got a job at the studio, teaching once a week. And now it's like 3 times a week, and got a job at another studio. I was working at LA Fitness. And yeah, I just love it. It helped me get out of serving, because I was a server for a very long time. And it helped me transition, because I was really hating that. And the reason why I kept serving was because of flexible schedule, made the money I needed to make to survive and to go on tour. And yoga's kind of the same thing. Like, you can make okay money depending on where you are, but it's something I just like teaching. I don't teach yoga for the money, because truthfully, I'm not making a lot of money teaching yoga by any means. It pretty much is like being a DIY musician. And I just love helping people feel good and helping people step in, helping guide them, step into their bodies, and helping them quiet the shit that's going on here, and just acknowledging whatever is going on and just moving. Because I don't know anyone that has gone to a yoga class. Well, I do. There are people who go to class, they hate it, whatever it may be. But like, typically you feel better after you do the thing than convincing yourself not to do the thing, whatever thing that is, you know? So yeah, well, that's the story of how I got into doing yoga. And now I just teach classes online. Like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I love it. Yeah.
Definitely.
Sorry, that's long-winded.
It's great. I love to hear like the process instead of like, oh yeah, I just, you know, like some short answer.
Sometime I love to talk. I'm like, yeah. So not sorry for long-winded. Thank you for listening. Actually, thank you for asking.
Definitely. No, but yeah, like I think like people are always like, oh, you should try yoga, because like my brain never shuts off. It's always like there's always like a million different thoughts going on, like in a circle, like a tornado. Yes. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should. And I like always like consider it, but then I'm like, oh, I got to do this, and then I like get distracted, and then yeah. And then 5 months later, you're like, oh yeah, wasn't I gonna do yoga?
You should do it. You should do it, especially any breathing stuff like pranayama and stuff like that. Like, it helps, because I'm with you. My mind speeds everywhere. I'm like, wait, when was the last time I did meditation? And just like, when was the last time I like just sat down and listened to my body and was breathing and moving intentionally, mindfully and intentionally, because that helps you stay grounded instead of having your mind floating around everywhere. So you should do it.
I'm convinced.
Try it. Try it out.
So that brings me into like the Lavender Sanctuary. So you said that you wanted to do like a yoga concert, art vendor combo kind of thing, and you know, that didn't work out, obviously, to COVID. So did you want to like talk about that a little bit, like the profile and like everything you do?
Sure. I'll briefly talk about it, because it was definitely one of those things. Like, I was planning on doing it. Like, I had the date booked at Space Mountain and was ready to do it. And really what it was going to be was yoga class, beginner, like super beginner, like actually beginner yoga class. Yeah, bring your own mat. If you don't have a mat, bring a towel, because we're not going to be doing anything crazy. We're probably doing a lot of seated postures, or like on your hands and knees type of things, or like some standing stuff, but like nothing, or on your back, like nothing wild, nothing contortionist, like at all, by any means, or even like downward dog, upward dog, like very minimal movement breathing. So my whole thing was I wanted to do an event where it like shows people in the music scene, because I know a lot of people that create deal with anxiety and depression. That's a lot of reason why I feel that's the reason why I create. because I love it, but also because I get so depressed that I'm like, I need to write about it. And it's an outlet for me. But it's not all like now with doing yoga in my life, I've been able to still write and still honor those feelings and write out and whatever, but like I don't have to suffer daily as much as I did before. Like I had to like punish myself to be able to write music and like feel that way in order to write good music, which you don't have to. And you can feel the way you feel, write about it, and then not like suffer for as long. Because you're gonna feel how you feel. Like if you get depressed, you're probably still gonna get depressed, but like doing healthy things to like help manage those feelings. But I wanted to share that with people who come to shows and people who are in bands and things like that. I wanted people to experience what it's like to breathe mindfully and to move mindfully and how that feels and like to step into present moment. So I wanted to bring that along with like local vendors. I had a friend he lives in South Carolina now, but he had like a coffee shop. My friend does tacos, and then my other friend, he does this thing called Dire Quest, which is like a role. It's like D&D, and it's freaking amazing. So I don't know if you're into that, and like it's like a choose your own adventure type of game online. It's really cool, and he does all the artwork for it. So he was gonna do some Dire Quest stuff, and I was gonna see who else, like someone wanted to showcase like their ceramic stuff, and I'm like, yeah, let's get like all these local people. Let's do some yoga in the beginning, and then we'll have like coffee and food and things like that if you want to shop. And then after that, do like a 4-band lineup of music. Just have like bands play and just come together. Like know that it's okay. Like let's celebrate our bodies and our breath. Let's celebrate this, like all these creative things that all these people can do in this community, supporting the community. And yeah, that's what Lavender Sanctuary is. We ended up doing a virtual one on Instagram. I'm sure maybe if you see it, but I have the sets up too. And that was cool too. So I had like a 30-minute beginner flow online. I had Glazed, Winded, Insignificant Other, and Lando play. Like they all had my login info. They came in and it was really cool. And it was right in the middle of like in May. So people really appreciated being able to connect still, even if it was online. And I'm like, I'm still going to do this. It's not going to be as big and as grand, but like, here are some links for donations that people appreciate your time for playing and stuff. And that's what it is. So I don't know. It was just an idea I had. Lavender Sanctuary can be like a huge thing. I have so many ideas for it, but like most importantly, Woolbright is the most important thing. So I know that if I start doing a lot of Lavender Sanctuary stuff, I will not focus as much on Woolbright. But yeah, it's a really cool, in my opinion, really cool concept. Like showcasing maybe like photographers, artists, if any medium, film, video, paint in general, anything you can create. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I love like when you bring together like all these different kinds of like creatives to do their own thing, and then it's like in the same kind of.
Yeah. You know, a bunch of yoga people are like, oh, what band? Oh, you're in a band? Like students would come all the time. You're like, I want to go to a show. It's like, all right, well, come to this yoga class and then come catch some bands that are really cool. Man, by the way, this is a local person that's here at this spot from this time. That's like, they pop up at places, just like getting the community, supporting the community, building our own community. Yeah. So maybe in the future when things are safe, maybe in a year or whatever, 2 years, whenever it is, we'll have like the full on Lavender Sanctuary event. For now, chilling. So yeah.
I was like looking at the profile and I was like, I don't think I can do that. How does she do that with her body?
Like, oh, yoga?
Yeah. I was like, I don't think my body stretches like that. That's okay.
I can do all that stuff.
There are variations for everything. There are variations. I won't even call them modifications because like that can have a negative tone to it, but there are different variations for every pose, and every body is different and freaking amazing as is. And like you should do, if you're like, I don't want to do yoga because I'm not flexible, it's like that's a reason to do yoga, because it opens up so much more than just your body. It opens you up like mentally, and like, yeah, I'm like, everyone should do yoga or like stretch their body out, because I'm like, there's stuff I really do think like stuff physically manifests in your body. And when you start to move in any capacity, it starts to kind of open up and release. So yeah, you're getting sorry, I'll talk about that forever. I'm like, yeah, move. But I hear you.
But yeah, definitely like, yeah, I need to just be like, okay, I'm gonna do this now instead of putting it off, because I'm definitely a procrastinator in that sense, where it's not like a due date or like a set thing. I'm like, oh, I'll just do that later. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Or it's like your body, we need this now. Your body's like screaming at you, like you're just like, relax, or like you need to eat, or like you need to
oh like, crap, I haven't eaten today. I can drink it. It's a coffee. You already know how it is. I didn't eat. Thank you for that reminder.
Eat, stay hydrated. Yeah. Exactly.
All day.
The Woolbright thing.
Stay hydrated always.
Yep. So like your newest single, Pillow Top, how would you like, did you want to talk about like the growth from that, from like Busybody Lazybones to Pillow Talk, and like the differences, I suppose?
Pillow Top is definitely more the sound we have now. I feel like you can definitely hear the transition. Also, Busybody, some of those songs I wrote long time ago, and we decided to make it like a full band thing. But yeah, the sound, recording wise, the way Pillow Top sounds is like amazing. Like, I love the way Pillow Top sounds. I love the way Busybody Lazybones sounds too. But yeah, I don't know. I guess you can, I guess it kind of speaks for itself, just hearing the differences between the two. I can't, like I said, like there's never any moment where I think to myself, oh, I should start writing this or start writing differently in any capacity. It kind of just happens. So I guess just the growth of practicing with these guys, because they're always practicing and like learning new stuff. And we all have a lot of different influences of music that we like, and also like similar ones that we like individually that we bring to the table. So maybe it's just like the collection of music we listen to. And then it just comes out in our personal playing. Like we never at any point are like, no, don't do that. We're like, oh, you like this? This sounds cool. And we're like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. And we might have suggestions for whatever, but everyone plays whatever they want. And we all trust each other with that. So I guess, I don't know. I just really love Pillow Top. I really like, I feel like it gets slept on a little bit. And I'm like, more people need to listen to this song, because this song is like just the quality of it. With that being said, it makes me really excited to put out the new music we're about to put out, because that stuff is sounding good. And you got to be your own fan, you know what I mean? So I'm like really proud of what we're about to put out. But
is it a sign of what's to come?
Yeah, what's to come is I'm so excited. I really am. I'm not trying to like hype it up and like disappoint. Like, I don't care if no one likes it. Like, as long as we like it and I like it, that is all that matters. We're really proud of how it sounds right now, and proud of what we're doing. And yeah.
It's important. You want to put out stuff that you're proud of and that you like yourselves, you know?
Absolutely. People who like it will gravitate towards it and like it, and people who don't like it, that's okay. Then it's not for you, and not in any weird, like, mean way, but like, it doesn't resonate with you and you don't like it, that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Your people will come to you with this music.
What's up?
Your people will come to you with this music that you're putting out, you know? The supporters will come to you.
For sure. Yeah.
100%. So do you have like a memorable, like most memorable like tour moment?
You know, we have vlogs up. I'll just shout that out too. We also have vlogs up. You'll see a lot of things from the vlogs.
Vlogs on YouTube, everybody. Yes.
Woolbright TV, and we have a few episodes. We have quite a bit up. The first few are a little, like, you can tell I'm like still figuring out how to edit. I kind of have like a dead look in my eyes when I'm talking sometimes. But as I progressed, I started to get with it and like move it along with some of these edits. But it takes a lot, and I was editing it on my freaking phone. Anyway, so favorite tour moments. I have you said memorable.
Memorable. Like not necessarily like favorite, but like
you said memorable. I did
that's
catch
operative
that.
word, yes.
Immediately one thing comes to mind, but I don't know if this person wants me to share it, so I will not share this information. Because I will probably get in a fight with this person, and I love them so much. I don't want to do that. Yeah. But you said memorable, and I was like this, like immediately, like I do know something. My other memorable moment, I got two, and they're both. I'll say the nice ones. Was being in Nashville, playing at the end in Nashville. And quite a few people showed up, which was pretty wild because I booked the tours myself, or like I talked to bands and then they booked the tour. Like I'm the booker, which anyone watching this that books tours in the future, hit me up. So there was a dude yelling like the lyrics back at me, and I'm like, holy crap, I don't know who you are, and you're like singing back at me with these lyrics, and it was so cool. It was like the first time that it ever happened where I'm like, I don't know this person, we're in a different state, and this person knows like our songs. This person's not even friends with anyone we're friends with. This is so cool. That also happened on the solo tour in like Louisville. No, not Louisville. Somewhere, I don't remember. It was like in the middle of somewhere in the middle of the country. Some person was just like singing a song, like sing this song, and I'm like, who are you? This is really cool. Those moments. Also, when we went on tour with our friend Jamie in 2018, very memorable moment. She quit her job. The first show was in Tallahassee, and we're like, we got lucky. We had rented a minivan, but didn't have minivan, so we got a 15-passenger van for the same price. It was epic. It was epic. So we had so much space in this van. And we're like, hey, Jamie. Jamie had talked about how she hated her job. She's working at all the time, all the stuff. We're like, dude, why don't you just quit your job and come on tour with us? And she's like, all right. She calls like her friend, our friend Dom. She's like, hey, should I quit my job and go on tour with Woolbright? And she's like, absolutely. So she just quit her job and went on tour with us. And that was probably all of our favorite tour. And I remember being in the van, another show in Nashville at this spot on that 70s house, Sweethearts, that live there and run shows there. I remember being in the van with them. They don't remember this because I've talked about this memory before. I remember being in the van, and I'm like this, I get really sentimental about the smallest things. And we were like eating like pita and hummus and just like making sandwiches and things like that after our set, and just inside, like all of us were in the van, like huddled up. It was freezing. No, it wasn't freezing. That was a different time. We were in there. It was the summertime. Sorry, my brain, because we played at that 70s house twice, well, more than twice. And there was another moment where we were all freaking freezing in a winter tour at the 70s house. No, we're all sitting there making our food. And I remember just looking around at everyone's just chilling, like laughing and having a good time. And that just will always stick with me. It's nothing crazy like, oh yeah, you had a good time with people you're on tour with. But like, I just remember that moment, like all of us sitting there, like fucking around, pardon my language. And I was just like, this is amazing. This is like what I want to do forever. Just be with my friends and my loved ones and just tour. Like it was just awesome.
Yeah.
So
it is one of those moments, like it's so simple and just so like normal, but it's still something that you're going to remember looking back on, having those little moments with your band and, friends and everything.
Yeah.
Make an impact. I was like thinking back to like how I knew that like music was going to be my life forever. And I was thinking to like this moment I was like at Warped Tour, and I don't even remember who was playing, but there was like a sunset behind like the stage. And I was just like, holy crap. Like I don't ever want this moment to end. And I just want, I think it was like the Somerset or some like random band was playing. And like, it was just beautiful.
How fitting. Sorry.
Right? And I'm just like, yeah, perfect. And I was like, yeah, I just never want, I never want this moment to end. Like, this is just something that's gonna stay in my brain forever.
Yeah.
it's one of those things that like kind of makes you step back a little bit and just be like, wow, like this is real.
That's what life's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just is. Like, do what you love. Like, all this isn't gonna last forever. So like, do what you love. Sometimes we keep ourselves, like we mentally keep ourselves in certain spots. Like we have to do certain things. I used to think that I was only ever gonna work at a certain restaurant that I was working at for like 8 years. And I remember John just being, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna be here forever. He's like, you can just quit. You don't have to work there. I'm like, what? I got the hours that I want, and like it's the perfect schedule, and I can take off whenever, and I won't get fired, and I get the schedule I want. And he's like, so like, you can always just quit, and I did. So, just like allowing myself to just do whatever, and that goes to like everyone. Like, do what you want to do. Like, it'll work out. Envision yourself doing it and do it.
Yeah.
Like, you got this.
Well, I think that's all the questions we have. What about you, Raven? Do you have one to add?
Think of anything else? If there's like, I would say like, if you had to pick just like a few songs to like describe like Woolbright and like your music and everything, pick a few Woolbright songs for people to listen to if they don't know you or want to get to listen to you. Like, what songs would you recommend for them?
Ooh, okay. I really, like I was talking about earlier, Pillow Top. It's one of our singles. It's from 2019. You can see it on our Spotify. It's also on Bandcamp. Symbiotic Harmony, that's like the most popular one. Also, I loved writing it. Felt freaking great writing that song. I remember when we got it all together. We played it all together. I felt like I was floating. I was like so giddy when we first played that song together, and we all got our parts together. What's It Gonna Be? And 19th Street. Oh, I'm sorry. Air. Air is the last song on our album. And I know you're just listen to it. And also like we get told this a lot. We are a live band. Like I love the recordings, but we are so much heavier in person too, which I think is like kind of funny. Like Air, listen to Air. Air goes freaking in live. So if you can find anything online with like us playing Air live, not trying to like toot my own horn. I'm just like, yeah, that song rips. And if you get through it, don't be intimidated by the 5 minutes. I know it's a 5-minute long song, but it's just a slow burn. There is a release that it builds to a, so yeah. So Air, Symbiotic Harmony, Pillow Top, just listen to the Busybody, but for sure, listen to those songs. I also personally, Spine is one of my favorite songs that we have, but I feel like it's just like in the middle somewhere. Yeah. Just listen to it all, listen to all of it.
Everything.
Because there's so many little bits of everything, and I'm that way when I'm sharing music that I like. I'll be like, oh my God, are you listening to this album? I'm like, wait, but listen to this song? But listen to this song too because of this part in this section, and listen to this. And I'm like, next thing you know, I'm sending them the whole freaking album. And I'm just like, just listen to the album. Listen to the album because there's so many bits. Like you can't just describe a band in one song. Like you could listen to the whole piece because there's so much brought to the table and so much ear candy and everything. So you got to eat it up. Okay.
For sure, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, that was like a roll.
It was great. Do you want to plug your like social media and where people can find you and listen to you and all that fun stuff?
Yeah. Okay. You can find us on. We do have a website, woolbrightband.com, and it links. Everything is there. Our Instagram and Twitter is @WoolbrightBand. Our Bandcamp is the only odd one out. It's woolbrightfl.bandcamp.com. And yeah, honestly, if you look up Woolbright Band, all this stuff will come up. But it's all there. Merch is bought through Woolbright Bandcamp, but same thing. If you go on our website, you click on it, it'll take you to our Bandcamp. So it's pretty easy. Yeah. And if you follow us on YouTube, our links are there too. Woolbright TV, YouTube, Spotify, because when you follow us on Spotify, you will know when those new songs come out, and on YouTube too, because there will be things to watch along with your ear holes. So yeah, things to see and hear. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was
Appreciate
really fun.
Yeah, I had a really nice time talking to y'all. Thank you.